Hello, FewCandy here and welcome back to another episode of Cities Skylines. And last time out you would have seen we completed our airport complex with the big cargo airport. I had so much fun doing this. I just love this kind of dirty industrial building, using loads of trash to decorate stuff. Like, again, just this little bit. I just love it. Really pleased with how that came out. But the airport is, in now. It's done, that major project. So for today, we are going to turn our attention to a much smaller project and one that actually desperately needs doing because I have been secretively popping little power plants, which you won't have seen off screen, to keep Auridon up with their power demands. So what we're going to do today is use this little piece of land to build ourselves a nuclear power plant. So the first thing that we're going to do today is move this roundabout back slightly just to give ourselves a little bit more breathing room around the build. So we'll select just nodes and segments for now. And we will grab all of these. I'm not going to worry about the power lines, but let's just drag this back just a little bit, just like that, which will give us a little bit more room for those. And then what we want to do is just tidy up these roads here. So in actual fact, we don't really need this node by the roundabout. So let's just delete that one out. And then we'll just use move it to straighten and align all of these different segments. So there we go. That looks an awful lot neater. Now the next thing that I do want to do is just prepare the land in this space as well. So let's start off by deleting out all of our trees from here. We're not going to need them. We will put in some more trees probably as per the kind of general Auridon theme, but we won't want them there for most of this build, so we'll remove that. And then let's grab our terraforming tools. Now I want this land to be not too high, so I'm thinking what I'm going to do is take the height of the end of the peninsula right here. We'll just make a smallish brush size, right click here, and then we'll level out the land to this height. So we can gradually get a bigger brush size once we've picked that up. There we go, and just push that back. Now, I don't want to change the shape of the terrain too much. We do have to be wary as well for changing it. We've got fishing boats out this side, which we could cut off their routes. So we definitely don't want to do too much of that. So let's just flatten out this whole area. So then for the entry road, we want to make sure we've got a nice smooth terrain here, but let's just for now grab this road and we will bring it down on into the complex. So we'll just go down like that for now. It's a little bit bumpy. It's not too much of a steep slope, so that's fine. And then what we can do is, of course, grab move it and we'll just slope objects. And of course, you could do that with Network Multi-Tool as well. Now, as this is a nuclear facility, as always in Auridon, I think we will have a security gate in the form of a toll booth. They just look super good. Yeah, I like how they look for a security entrance. So we will have another one like this here. Now, before we go any further, I'm thinking what I will do is place the large assets. So obviously, being Auridon, I do want to try and stick to vanilla assets wherever possible. And there is, of course, the vanilla nuclear power plant. So let's just place this in. I have to say, this costs £8 a week to operate, but does produce an awful lot of power, so there's not a problem with the power output. But £8,000, my goodness. So we need to keep a little eye on the budget here. We were making money at least. Looks like it's dropping now. But in general, we are making money. Now, the only thing with the vanilla power plant is that it is actually quite small. When we look at the footprint of it against the skyline, like, it's all right from down below, but against like true to life cooling towers, they're very small. So just to add to it, I have got a workshop asset that I would like to use here, and that is this cooling tower from MineGot. So we are going to place in a few of these. Now they only add, I think, 6 megawatts of power, so they're basically less than even a standard wind turbine. So it's not really added to the power, but aesthetically, this is going to make it look a hell of a lot better. So I'm going to have 3 of these, and now we have to place them along the road, which is why I'm just placing them in there. But then, of course, we are going to move them and position them really nicely. So I want one really quite close to the end of the peninsula here. We'll have it just slightly further in so that we can do some nice detailing around it. And then we will also have one just out this side next to it, and then one over this side too. And we are going to make sure that they are kind of misaligned a little bit so that when we look at them from different viewpoints around the city, you can kind of generally see all 3 from no matter where you are. Now, these assets do glitch out a little bit without ultimate level of detail on from far away, so we have to ignore that just for a second. But yeah, I think like that is going to look pretty good. They stick out nicely in front of that downtown skyline there, And particularly where we've got all this industry in front of it, the soft paper factory, the big port area. This is going to be quite a heavy industrial bay around here, so I think it will add to the effect of it. And of course we've got the prison right there as well. Now let's just make sure that everything is the height of the terrain here. So we'll bring them down to the level of the toll booth because we know that that is on the correct height, and same goes for the vanilla power station there. Now with this, how I'm going to position it is I'm going to keep the cooling towers out by these other cooling towers so that that sort of generally makes sense to one another. I think we'll have them about there. And again, the orientation of this is pretty important. So we'll have 5 cooling towers, 2 of just the little baby ones from the main vanilla asset, and then these 3 large ones. I think what I will do is just bring this one slightly further this way, like that, and just space these out just a little bit more. Now for the road network, let's also add that in. So for the moment, I will just use the standard vanilla 2-lane roads, but we'll probably upgrade these to some concrete roads as we go through, just to make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So I do want to get these right up against this asset. So again, we will use a bit of Move It to align this all properly and make it look perfect. So we'll just bring that up to there for now, and then we'll step out a nice 90-degree angle and bring that down this way. And again, we probably will upgrade those roads. So let's also just make sure that that's sitting at a nice angle, and then we can pull this up quite close into that road, I think. It's got some nice little entrances, doorways there. We could actually leave a little bit of space and make a bit of a yard out that side. Might be a quite nice detailing effect for that. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Now in terms of road network around the cooling towers as well, what I am going to use is I want it to kind of almost look like paths, but they do need road access. So, and I don't think that the Park Life Paths as roads kind of fits the right vibe for here. So what I am going to use is the rural roads for this. So let's just bring out a straight section here. And what we will do is then curve it in and amongst the towers. Just-ish like this. We'll leave it there for the moment. Now this one is a little bit close, so let's just move that slightly further out. Same goes for this one. So I think we can align them a little bit more like so. And then what I'm going to do around them is I am going to create basically a circle of the one-way road. So they're a little bit thinner. And what it will do is look like pathways all the way around the outside of these assets. I've just realised I think I'm going the wrong way, I know. So we will turn these around and spin them round. And there we go. And then we will just connect in these ones. So I don't think we need to worry about getting them any closer than that, because we've snapped into the kind of nodes which happen to be on the edges of these things. Sort of works all right from that point of view. I think what I would like is to snap this really more into the middle there. So we'll go in that way. And so let's just redo this road just a little bit here. Yeah, a little bit curvy is absolutely fine like that. And then what we will do is join them into all of these different cooling towers as well. So yeah, just like that. Now in terms of around the bottom of them, we can just detail this up a little bit with a bit of surface painter here. Let's bring that concrete texture right out to the road and just fill in those spaces, which just helps to neaten this up quite a bit. And then I think we will leave the rest of this around here as grass. We've obviously got the ruined texture on the side of the road, but that's okay. I think we can tidy that up with a bit of overgrowth and that sort of thing, which we will come on to in the detail and time lapse. But yeah, that's what we want to see around the outside. Then we can of course get the ruined texture and just trim back any extra little bits of concrete there. So there we go. That is all looking nice and neat and tidy there. So the next thing that I want to come on to is a little water outlet. And I think it's quite a nice thing to add into a nuclear power plant build. So what we are going to use for that is just the standard vanilla canals. So I think we'll use a medium canal for this. And we're just going to draw it in this little space here, and hopefully we can kind of snap into the road guidelines from here so it's nice and uniform and aligned with that road. So I'll just bring it out like that, and then what we can do is just drag this node out. So let's grab that, hold Alt with Move It. We'll just drag that out a little bit further away. And in fact, this is very, very close to that road now. So what I will do is pick up those nodes and we're just going to shift them over ever so slightly so we don't get that weird tearing in that road there. And of course this is all sunk in as well, so let's grab the height of that and make sure it is aligned, and that gives us a much nicer effect. Now within this, what we want is some kind of outlet. So what we are going to use for this is actually the freshwater outlet that comes with the Disasters DLC. Now they snap into the side of the canals weirdly, but we are going to not do it that way. Actually, let's just delete out that one for a second. What we're going to do is we are, of course, everything's flooding. Do you know what? We haven't had a flood in Auridon for a while, actually, have we? It makes a nice change. It makes a nice change. I should have done this on pause. But let's let the flood water carry on as we completely flood the entire nuclear plant. Uh-oh. I hope it doesn't cause any explosions. Okay, so we are back in business again. Excellent news. We've got our fresh water outlets, and what I would like to do is kind of align them up to the edge of the road here. Just like that. They're sticking out nicely into here, and what we'll do is we'll just copy that with Move It and place in a second one right next to it. So we've got 2 of those in, which again, I think they look pretty good in the canal as a kind of, outlet for the nuclear plant. So the next thing that I do want to do is actually just tidy up the banks of this whole area. And because it is a big nuclear power plant, I think the most appropriate thing to do is to add quays. So there we go. So I think that just helps make it look a little bit more official rather than having those kind of natural rough edges that we have around Auridon. I think it suits going around a power plant or that kind of heavy industry vibe a lot better having these keys in. And we just went for the basic vanilla key I'd add here. We don't need the walkability on these ones, so that will do nicely. Okay, so the next building that I want to add in is more of a kind of administration, admin building, something that looks a little bit warehousey and looks like it could be an office. And I'm actually going to go for an asset that we used in our other power station. And it is called the semiconductor plant, so that's probably why it goes so well in a power station vibe. So you may remember way back to Bill Watt's power station that we have here, our solar and geothermal natural uses power plant, which I think, came out quite nice. We're just doing a kind of mama version of this today, but with nuclear power instead. So let's take our semiconductor plant, and because it's a unique building, we can't put in more than one, but we can, however, copy it with Move It in a bit of a cheaty fashion so that we can put more than one into our city. So let's go ahead and place this, and the orientation of this is quite important. It's got a really nice sign on it, if we have a look, that says Fab. So I kind of want that to be visible from the road as you come around this roundabout. I want people to be able to see that. So we'll probably leave this area quite open. So what I am thinking as well is we probably want a car park on this. So let's just shift this up a little bit. And in fact, it's probably good if we put it in line with kind of around about the middle of the whole booth there, which doesn't look hugely straight. I'm just going to try and neaten that up a little bit. That's a bit better. So yeah, let's try and line it up with that. And I think we can have it reasonably far over this way. So let's just drag it over a little bit. And what I would like to do, of course, because we've got this amazing archway in the asset, is make use of that with a road. So let's go ahead, and we will just use a concrete road for this because I know I'm going to want it in here. So let's go ahead and draw this in. So I think we've come out from there. And then what we'll do is align the building up to that road. So we've got it just flowing straight through that archway there. We might have to adjust this once I get my other assets in this side, but I think as always, that's absolutely fine. So let's run that straight through that archway so people can drive right through. And then this side, we are going to add in a car park so that we've got a little bit of parking for those people that work here. And of course, for anyone who is wanting to visit, if you wanted to visit a nuclear power plant, I don't know if that's a thing or not. If we just use no controller on this narrows this out a little bit, which gives us a little bit more space for parking spaces as well. If we just check back on the orientation, you can still see that fab sign. And if you're coming out of the prison as well down this road, you can see it is visible, which I think is important. The other way we could orientate it is obviously against this road, but I think that this is a little bit better so that you've got that view as you come around the roundabout, no matter where you're going. You can see that fab sign straight on. It's a little bit hidden if we orientate it the other way. So let's just put in our parking spaces before we forget. Now we still need road access for this building, and the front is actually around this side. So let's just draw around that concrete road to here. And what we will do is just then line that up a little bit nicer with those concrete edges of the building. So that just looks like it's essentially an extension of the building there. And we can do some not quite nice kind of staff area detailing out the front here as well. Now, in terms of this big space here, there is a particular asset that I'd like to use for this. And when I've been trawling Google Earth, looking at different power stations, there is a lot of heavily repeated patterns. And the only asset that I could really think to use for this from vanilla assets was the water treatment plant. Now, it doesn't look exactly like some of the things that you find in a nuclear plant, but I think it's going to look cool here. It's got the kind of heavy pipe look. It's got some of these like water treatment things as well, which you do see a little bit of kind of cooling treatment, that sort of thing around power plants. So I'm kind of happy with that. Obviously, we don't want it functioning. So let's just press pause here. What I am going to do is Rico it. So I'm going to add a local and we're going to add it in as a dummy. So it's essentially a park. So that will do. So we'll just save that and we'll save and apply changes. And then, yeah, it shouldn't be acting as a water thing anymore. It is going to say water pipe not connected, but I think that's okay. I think if we press play, will that go away? No, so it's like pouring sewage into the ground right now. But that's okay. It's not actually functioning. It is a park. It's not a water treatment plant, even though it's still saying that. So I think this is aesthetically going to look quite nice. And let's just copy that. And if we hold Alt, we can spin it around nicely. So we get perfect. Nice 180 on it. So let's line that up to the back there. And what I am going to do, just to try and create this heavily repeated pattern, is actually repeat this. So we'll have two lots of this in here. I want to kind of line up these so that they're equidistant apart. So yeah, I think like that is absolutely fine. So there's a slight gap in the middle there, but that's okay. All of the 4 water coolers all line up there. So I'm happy with how that looks. So let's just grab those and then we can try and move them into place. So what I would like is them reasonably close to this road so that we can do some nice pipe work up and over it into another asset over here. So it's going to be these really long repeated power assets. And that is exactly what I've seen on Google Earth. I mean, it's not exactly this, but the type of pattern that we've got, I think kind of mirrors it. So I think it's going to look fairly realistic. Now, in terms of the other asset that we want to use, we're going to go into some generic industry for this. And what I really want here is actually some tall smoke towers. So we have got the coolers there, but some taller towers I think would look really, really nice in this area. And this generic industry asset has quite a nice little red and white, or red and green actually, tower there. So I like how this one looks. And it's actually a really attractive asset with the stairs going up the back, the little boxes and crate detail in there, side doors, little pallets. Got steel rhino on the front, but we're gonna ignore that. We can call this the Rhino nuclear plant if we want. So let's just take this, and what we will do is spin this around. So I'm going to have the back facing this way. And then what we'll do is we will copy this and we're going to line up 4 of them over this side. And now because of the spacing of them, what I want is them all equally aligned to these 4 coolers, because we're going to run pipe work over the top. So if I just show you what I mean. What I have got from the workshop is this pipe pack by Avanya. So nice little detailing things for industrial areas, in particular for power plants and that sort of thing. So that is what we're going to use here. Now clearly we've got the road in there, so we do want to be conscious of that and go up and over. So yeah, if we just turn on prop anarchy there and make sure that's on, what we're going to do is we're going to line these up to the road. Now we want to make sure that everything's super straight and uniform here so that this pattern looks dead on. I think that's okay. That looks pretty straight out of there to me. So we'll go ahead and do it like that. And then what we can do is use some extra straight pipes here just to connect this on into the cooler this side. It'll go like that. So it looks like it is connected into this segment. And then what we're going to do is essentially the same thing out the other side. So again, we'll just use this straight segment to bring that out a little bit further. And what we're going to do is just feed it into this building. We just get rid of those straight pipes just for the moment. I'm just thinking we could add in a little pattern here. So we could go diagonal like that. And then we could go straight on into the building with this one. So let's just line that up there. Yeah, and then what we want is this building lined up so that those pipes are going in through one of these gaps here. So it looks kind of proper and somewhat more realistic. So then what we want to do is line that up for all of the 4 other sections here. So we can make sure that these buildings are properly aligned so that everything is super symmetrical and looks heavily repeated. So yeah, now that I've got those in, we can do a little bit of building merging here and just bring these really up close to each other. So we've got this building merging into that one. It still keeps the back door clear here. So I think that that is absolutely fine to do. And again, actually, this is going to look better, I think, like that, because it's going to look like one long continuous building. So let's go ahead and do that all the way along. So we're just making sure that those pipes are going into the same unit every time. This one's actually a slightly different colour to the others, so we can reset that and change that up in a second. And of course, we have got the bin there as well. So actually, before we forget, let's just bob that off. So get that trash container, and yeah, let's just remove it with Bob. First little bit of bobbing of the day. And then, yeah, we can move this one up, and we're not flipping into any different assets there. The container all sits out nicely, so it's just simply the buildings are joining into each other, which I think looks good like that. So yeah, there we go. So we have got our kind of what hopefully looks a little bit, starting to look a little bit like an electrical plant there. And we will add more pipe work and more detail into this area, probably some pipes going down into some little electric boxes out this side as well, just to continue on that really heavily repeated pattern that we've got going on over here. All in all, I think that that looks all right as a makeshift power plant, at least. Now, of course, what we haven't left here is a road feeding into this one. So we do want to make sure that we have got that. So what I am going to do is just grab this building and all of this car park and the nodes associated with this. So this one as well. And we're actually just going to shift this up ever so slightly. We'll just drag that over a little bit, and we can do some nice detailing around this to get rid of that tearing, as always. Let's just shift this node up as well, and similarly this one, so that's all nicely aligned again. And then we can go back into our concrete roads and create a road that is going to adjoin to these buildings down here. So let's turn off road length and grid just for a moment. There we go, and then we can bring this out in front of these units. Like that. So now they are all connected nicely to the road, even though they didn't like that at all. But yeah, I think that is starting to look quite like a power plant, and it is a random use of assets, but once we get all of the props in around it, I think it is going to come together nicely. So we will add some smaller generic industry units into this just to flesh out some of these areas and help add a little bit more detail. But otherwise, apart from that, it will be a lot of prop detailing just to tidy everything up and help to make it look a lot more realistic. But that is it for the main assets. So that does mean I will go ahead and jump into the detailing time lapse, and I'll be right back. there we go. And this was actually a really interesting one for me to detail, because when you look on Google Earth, there's really a lot of nothing around these power plants. There's just a lot of concrete space and what looks like trash, but I didn't want to do another trash build after our cargo airport. So yeah, this is what we have come up with. So just starting over here, I have got this little power substation. This is where I guess the electricity goes out and flows down towards the highway, and then we'll divert off along the highway as and when we need it there. But yeah, I like how that came out. Just using some of these vanilla generic industry, what definitely looks like a little power substation anyway there. Some of the pipe details, a vent. It's actually meant to go on a rooftop, these vents, but I like how they look like this. And then obviously the vanilla power lines there, just fenced in, so that's a bit more of a secure area. And then over here we do have just some trucks, some simple trucks lined up for various deliveries for the main HQ. A couple of little benches around there as well, so staff can sit in somewhere half nice. And then down here we've just got a few more little trucks. I did some of the standing prop sims, the building sims, which I just think seem to work everywhere in these industry areas actually. It's super cute. I kind of want to go around the other industry areas in Auridon and add some in actually, because it really adds a little bit of life I think to the area. And then over here we have added in some more pipes with some little electricity boxes at the end here that kind of just help to finish that off, I think. Where we've got the pipes coming out this side, I think that makes sense to also have it over here too. Added in a little bit more generic industry as well, with a little tiny amount of trash detailing down here, a few barrels lined up and some of these assets as well, which I thought went nicely next to the water there too. Obviously we've fenced in the entire area, so it is a secure compound now. Used a little bit of rocks and just overgrowth around here so that you can still very much see that fab sign as you come down these roads. It's very viewable there down into the main power station. And as we come down, I did create this little security entrance here, just a couple of booths, lots of security cameras, and then a little police station actually here, just using some of the vanilla sheds and the carport to create this little kind of security hut where the security guards can stay and monitor who's entering and exiting the facility. Lots more overgrowth down the side with a bit of a repeated tree pattern. I think it kind of made sense to make this a bit more landscape than just natural Auridon forestry detail in there. Just some containers and the usual industrial detailing also around this side. Of course, we've fenced all of this off, so that highlights the road access there as well. So I feel like that made a bit more sense. A few little more security vans there. And then we come on to this very secure radioactive materials compound, where I like to think they've got some kind of funky substance going on in all of these barrels. A couple of lorries and things just to detail that up. And of course, we've got the usual sims here. I didn't even add someone in the forklift. Like they're going to put them in the back of the truck, I think there. That was what I was going for. Next to these warehouses. But I really like how that turned out with the prison fence and then the corrugated iron fence drawn onto it as well. I think it looks pretty neat actually. And those little signs definitely add to it. Added in one more vanilla generic industry asset here with a couple of barrels and just a truck outside. A bit more fencing just to secure off that area. And then just overgrowth really around these main cooling towers here, which I think was all that was needed. I wanted to keep it quite open green grass, but this just helped to make it a little bit more realistic, I think. They're not going to go around here mowing the grass, are they? So a few bushes and overgrowth I think made sense. But that was it. So this was a really quick build and a nice refreshing change from those massive airport builds that we have done recently, and of course the farm as well. Now there is just one thing that I do want to do before we sign off today, and that is check our electricity consumption, because we're now way over what is needed. And thinking about the budget, we're making a small amount of money because of the £8 cost of this. That has diminished, so it's going up very slowly, but not enough. So I'm going to come over here and look at my little hall of shame. So this is what I've been plopping off camera just to keep our electricity supply going. Our power plant, our Bill Watts power plant did last for a good while, but yeah, we no longer need these randomly plopped power stations. So I am going to remove some of these wave power plants because we definitely don't need them all. So let's just keep an eye on what the consumption is now that we've removed those. So that has dropped down to 2,100. So what are these producing? 480 each. So yeah, we don't even need actually either of these. So we can delete that. We've still got our little bits of road in here. I'll delete some of this off. I mean, there's trees all over. They're right down here. I paid that little attention. I might keep just this small area. No, in fact, no, we won't. We will get rid. And we'll just delete off those extra power lines that are no longer needed there as well. So let's just check that out. Now it's close. It's close. So we're still going to need more power, but that will be fine for now. And that should majorly help our budget. So if you just have a little look at what we are spending on electricity, a whopping 33 grand, but that's absolutely fine for now. And of course we can increase it by up to 50% as well if we wanted to. We're not going to do that. But there's room still for Auridon to grow with our nuclear power plant and our Bill Watts power plant as well. So for today, that is going to be it. If you have got any name suggestions for our power plant, please do drop them in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed the video, likes and shares and other comments are also really, really appreciated. And as always, thank you so much for all of the crazy support you guys have given me on this Auridon series. I just so appreciate each and every one of you. So stay tuned for the cinematics, but for today, that is it. So I will catch you again next time. Bye bye.